I'm Nick Savage,
I'm Ryan Marquez.
and this is Conversations with Fresh Air. On this morning's episode, we're going to talk about this coronavirus, the St. Louis community, the blues during this time, and no, not the St. Louis blues, but like, what's it like to have the blues during a time like this? The Savage Dance Party, what you don't know? Fresh Air and new music, new musicians that are playing with Fresh Air, recordings that we've got, and the technology we've had to sort of upgrade or update in order to stay afloat with everything that's going on right now with the coronavirus. So I guess let's jump into it.
Let's jump.
So the first thing we have on is the virus. And, Ryan and I have a really close friend named Drew Mantia. And shout out to Drew Mantia, by the way. Drew's an amazing producer, performer, writer, arranger. He's a great music engineer. He just does a ton of things. And, I was looking on his Facebook page the other day because he had posted a video, and I was like, what the heck is going on? And what I realized was he was kind of, dissing this coronavirus that's going on. And I see a range of people. I don't know about you, Ryan, but like, I know people who right away was like, this is a government conspiracy. I know people right away who were like, I need to get all the toilet paper from Target I can. And I know people right away who were like, Corona, Schmorona, my Sharona, whatever. Like, did you experience like a wide array of people?
Yes, a lot of different emotions, a lot of different opinions, perspectives, and a lot of different it's just a lot. I think everybody's experiencing this in a different way. I myself am calling it a corona science. Just in reference to all of the subject matter there is to draw from to create art, create music, create new ideas, new innovative ways to connect with each other and to continue to be artistic in this new sort of digital age that we're in now.
Well, and I want to hear more about like the corona science. But back to Drew, was like he, was playing around with the virus. All of a sudden I see him post another video, right? So this is like just a few days ago. And he's basically like, I think I have the virus. I've been down all day. I'm super tired. I haven't moved. I haven't done anything like, and I think I'm showing symptoms of this virus. So then I'm kind of like, okay, spoke too soon, whatever. Now he's on Facebook, sort of like recanting a lot of his statements. But then I thought about it a second time, and what I really recognized the second time I thought about it was he was actually doing something that I wouldn't have done. I thought it was pretty special that he had the take that he did, but then also was like, aware enough that people are listening to him to go back on Facebook and, like, for lack of a better phrase, apologize, or at least, reframe this whole thing. Yes. Like, thank you. Like, just give another perspective on it. And, I thought it was great, and I thought it was healthy. It's healthy for me to see somebody do that. It was extremely humbling. And not to mention, if you think you had the virus or anything and you're following Drew Mantia right now, like, he's posted a third video since then, and he's talked about like how he felt every step of the way. So like from the time that he first felt like maybe he thought he had the virus, all the way through the fact that now he feels completely healthy again. And I think one of the key points is Drew's like one of the healthiest people we know, right? So I think one of the key points is, if you think you're perfectly healthy and you start feeling like you have any symptoms of the coronavirus, watch Drew's feed, because he can tell you what he was going through while he quasi had it or whatever, But I think that's a unique take, because every other take that I've heard about this or somebody's sickness or unfortunately has been a huge spectrum from people who had a little cough for a little while to hearing about, close students of mine at the local university experiencing death within the family. Mm-hmm. So like that's a huge spectrum. And that's a spectrum that whether or not it is a government conspiracy that anybody perished during this time, at what we want to do and like what Fresh Air is all about is, continuing to be positive and spread that energy. So it created a perspective for me that I thought was notable. So way to go, Drew.
Yeah. Right.
So you were talking about the Corona science earlier.
Corona science. Da Vinci thrived in the Renaissance. Kind of like the grandfather of the Renaissance. Corona science. We're like, if you think about it, Nick, you and I, we can remember a time when there was no internet, right? We can remember what that kind of whole process was like, oh, come check out this internet. Like now here we are, fast forward, 25 years later. And it's like, now this is it. This is everything. This is how people are experiencing the world. And I think what's really interesting and cool about that is everything can be documented. So realizing that everybody's an artist. It's like, if you ever wanted to make tracks or draw or like cut up a movie, like like most people who live in America right now have a lot, like an access to resources to do all kinds of things that maybe say like 100 years ago would have been deemed impossible. So I think what's cool about in this time and to remember, it's like, I like to go to museums a lot. So remembering that like history is always being written in the moment. And as we go through this group event, just like documenting as much as possible your thoughts, your like your expressions, like through whatever medium that might be, that's all like valuable, so I feel like, in 50 years, that's what people are going to be looking back toward is what was it like to go through the coronavirus pandemic, and so it's just kind of like thinking, if you ever didn't have, nobody can say they didn't have time. You can't say, oh, I didn't have the time to do what I wanted to do. I mean, maybe a lot of people, I guess, are like, I guess it's kind of interesting, right? Because we're talking about different perspectives. So some people's lives are like not, like everybody's life's affected, but some people are like, they still have a job and they still are getting a paycheck, or just, for the most part, they're going to like be cool. Then some people are like, they lost everything, they're like, have no clue what's going to happen. And so it's just like trying to be sensitive to everybody's needs and not devalue anybody's perspective or opinion. But then, like you said, just understanding and realizing that regardless of the situation in any time period or in any kind of situation we might encounter individually or collectively, there's always a choice about how to perceive it, perspective. And there's from what I've gathered, there's two main energies, love and fear. And so I just have been encouraged that even in maybe a situation where it could be easy to be afraid, to just remember that you can choose to view it however you like. And I'm choosing to view it as a positive thing, a thing to create loving artistic energy.
Dope.
Corona science.
Dope. Well, it seems like it's not just us thinking positively, right? Like, I mean, it seems like a number of art foundations and
Yes.
people, individuals, philanthropists, like organizations are coming together and thinking about ways to contribute to art, to recognize that art is important,
Yep.
and I think that in and of itself is extremely uplifting, and it's also encouraging. Um, you know a lot more about this than I do because I've spent a lot of my time helping with church and just like doing some more internal things, with 3 kids and stuff like that. But like I noticed right away you were online, like helping bring to light some of the local art support, foundations and things. Like I can't even name them all.
Oh yeah,
What are
like
they?
well,
Help us out.
one of the first things that kind of come across the radar was our old buddy and good friend Ben Mazak, back in the day,
Ben,
at Webster
shout out to Ben
University. Shout out to
Mazak.
Ben Mazak, amazing engineer, producer, instrumentalist himself, and he has started a fund called the St. Louis Music and Art Fund, and it's a GoFundMe page that the funds received will be distributed to local musicians here in St. Louis who are in need. So, two parts: if you're looking to donate to local musicians, this is your spot to do it. And if you're a local musician and you're perhaps in need of some extra funds in the near future, look this up also, because they're looking to help out. And I have an application, I believe, that's either available now or will be coming available pretty soon. There's also another really cool found organization called the Gateway Resilience Fund that you can check out at stlgives.org, and they're basically giving out grants, a couple different ones. They'll give you and this goes for anybody in the service industry, not just necessarily musicians, but if you know anybody who is like a in food service as bartender, waiter, any kind of industry support, you can get up to $500 for like use however you would like, or they will pay on your behalf up to $1,000 um, to a like your rent or your car payment, student loans, whatever kind of need you might have. So that's a really good resource. If you're looking to donate to, they're really stepping in, helping out the service industry. And if you're in need, obviously it's another good resource. There's the Billboard Music uh, Association, the one who puts on the awards and also has a chart. If you go to their website, and we'll post the link in the comments, but they have a state by state guide resource, as well as some general ones that apply to no matter where you live. And then ASCAP, www.ascap.com. They have really, really good information on understanding the literature and understanding um, the government situation with the government making funds available. How does that apply to musicians, songwriters, artists, creatives? There's a lot of information to decipher through. So before you, as an artist, or before you do anything in life, you probably want to make sure you understand any literature or fine print that's associated with whatever you might be signing up for. Um, so it's got a lot of good. It's got a particularly good frequently asked questions section that's worth checking out. And then I think you did note uh, about the Regional Arts Commission?
Yeah. So the Regional Arts Commission, I noticed because actually within the last 3 or 4 years, each of us have been a recipient. I think you 2 times,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and then I had been once, and I noticed I got an email that they are actually they've got a $100,000 fund um, that any artist eligible can receive between $500 and $1,000, like filling out a given application by going online. It's RACSTL or RACSTL is .com is their
.org.
website, or .org. And just FYI, we're putting all these down in the comment section, so you'll be able to, anybody listening to this will be able to check out any of these websites that we're talking about and fish them out. In fact, you should check out all of these websites,
Yes.
including if you want to watch those videos about Drew, they're going to be up there as well. So be sure and check that out. But that just segues into a good point. There's a lot of positivity, like not just coming from our perspective, but like outward. It's not just that artists are being positive, but like we're being positive. We're being positive individually. We're being positive with each other. And we're also seeing that there's a lot of support for us. And then that's causing us to do things like collaborate more than we ever have. And like,
Yes.
I've seen in the last few days, I've seen like a good friend, Paige Alyssa, doing a collaboration. I've seen, and Justin Murray, a good friend of mine, do one. Also, two friends, Josh Williams, who's a great vocalist, and Drew Mantua, who we mentioned earlier. They've collabed. And then one of the more fun ones I've seen was the 442s, and you can see it on their website. They did like one of Caleb Kirby's songs.
Yeah,
and
I saw that.
Yeah, it was dope, and it was
very hip.
Yeah,
Peter
it was
Martin
great. Peter Martin, it
was in
featured
there.
Peter Martin. It was a great.
Bob was
I
in
think
there.
Bob was on, but it was a great display of like togetherness, and it was fun, and it was the 442s in a way I hadn't seen them because I'd never seen Caleb playing with them. I think it'd always been Montez. But yeah, I think collaboration is great, and actually we're gonna share. Like I think I put a link down to the 442s at the bottom too, so you can check that out as well.
Definitely check them out. I love the 442s because Adam Manis, he's like a super hip keyboard player and compositionally like comes up with some really interesting things. I got a chance to see them play at a wedding, like for a wedding reception, and it was like
wedding receptions, love those.
It was like
shout out
insane.
to Diamond Empire Band.
It was insane. They were like playing some of the most cutting edge like sounds that I was like I couldn't even focus on. I was just like mesmerized. It was like I was 5 years old again, and I was like, what is this? Like, this is so cool. It's like that's when it's like it's like thinking about their music. It comes from a level of like sophistication or intricacy, because they all play at a really high level, like members of the symphony. They're really really highly intelligent and intellectual musicians. But there's also this like when I saw it at a wet, like, because I'd seen him like the symphony or like the Sheldon, but then when I saw them like in a situation where it was just like just people like hanging out, then I was like, oh man, this is great, because like it was like super heady, but then like it was super easy digestible too.
And I think I remember that reception because we played there. Was that Clara Jeanette's wedding?
We were playing
reception.
Yeah, and I remember.
Yes, like, shout out to Clara.
Yeah,
shout out to Diamond Empire Band because that's why we were there.
Yeah, that's right.
It all comes together.
I just remember standing there.
Like, I remember that too.
Watching, like, oh
yeah.
My gosh.
As you were talking about it, I'm thinking like, wait a minute, I know this story and I remember this music.
Yeah.
That was that reception that was like half indoor, outdoor. It was at this winery. It was so much fun. Shout out to Clara and Mari Jeanette, who is who her father-in-law is. Mm-hmm. And they actually did a song for the first dance, and it was what song was it? Cheek to Cheek,
yeah.
Allah,
Uh,
Tony Bennett,
mhm,
and Lady
Lady Gaga.
Gaga.
Yep.
And they actually recorded in this room in my studio, and we tracked it. We tracked the instrumental part while we were on tour in California.
That's right.
Not everybody knew why we were doing it, but that's why we did it. So we tracked the instrumental part. Later, Clara and Mari come in and do the vocals. They get married, where we see the 442s playing the cocktail hour and ceremony, and then here we are today.
They took
So,
our
like,
job.
They took her job.
They can have it. It was great.
Yeah, it was all good. No, but and then here we are today, right? Like, how
we are
crazy is
today.
that? But interesting enough, Nick Jeanette, Clara's husband, just posted that video today. So you can go on her Facebook page and see that.
It's all connected.
Yeah. You could totally see it. It's like
442.
not made
Look
up.
that up. Why is it 442? I don't know. Ask Adam
Right.
That's a different video for another day, I'm sure.
Right.
We'll have to get him on and get as a guest and be like, hey, Adam, why is it 442s?
Dude. So it's like, it's almost like, oh my goodness, it's all positive. It's all good. You can go down that chain where it's like all positive, right? But is it all positive? Like, I think with certain ones of us, or at times, right, certain ones of us, maybe it seems that way. But like, what advice do you have for, the feeling of gratitude or something when we don't feel like it's all positive? Like, say you can't connect the dots like that, say it's the coronavirus and you're a new musician and you're just trying to figure stuff out, and you don't have your own website, and you're not connected with the city enough to collaborate with the people that you want. You don't even know where to begin with the websites for, the Regional Arts Commission, or, whatever. Like, what do you do? What are you going to do? Because I think there are a lot of people that listen to us talk, or maybe they hear us, or maybe they see us, or maybe they hear a post. And the reality is like, well, we started somewhere. It's like, how do we, where do we start?
Yeah. No.
Like, where do we start? And like, what can you do?
That's an in-depth question.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I have students, man. Like, I have students, and it's like some stuff that goes through this, and I'm not talking about like a high school student that I know it's going to go over their head, and then later on it's kind of like, oh, they'll pick it up whenever. I'm talking about people who are on the brink of doing what we can, but they haven't turned the switch yet. Yeah, so then it's like, this is great info and all that.
Right.
But like, what if I just am not feeling all great right now?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I think anybody who's an artist, especially if you make it to a place where that's like what you do for a profession, you definitely have experienced a dark place, or a place where you were on the ropes, as they say,
the
or
blues.
You have the blues. Where it's like, yeah, it's a serious moment. It's like, man, you might have to do something else to stay afloat while you can. But I would say boiling that down to like the simplest thing, it's like, if all business aside, all artistic goals and pursuits aside, if you feel like in a space of helplessness or hopelessness, or you just don't feel good on a human level, I would say like the first place to start is practicing gratitude. And it's like, it seems crazy because you're like, well, I don't feel good. I don't have anything to be grateful for. Like, that's like the saddest statement in the world to me. It's like when somebody thinks that their life is so bad that they can't think of one thing to be grateful for. And it's like, well, there's definitely been moments in everybody's life that are trying, to the point where you're like having a little bit of a downtime or a tough time, depressed time. But I think if you can just start with simple things like, thank you for the air, clean air that I breathe, or thank you for the fact that I can form sentences with words, or thank you for the activity of my limbs, or thank you, you know, thank you for waking up this morning, thank you for this snack that I ate like earlier before I got in here. Like anything. Thanks that I have shoes on my feet. Thank you for the clothes that I have. You know, if you start at the most basic level and you just say thank you for these, thank you for, and then you just work. You work into you just. This is what I do when I feel bad. I say, thank you, God, for air. Thank you, God, for music. Thank you, God, for the trees. Thank you, God, for the bees. Thank you, God, for giving me a family that supports me and loves me. Thank you, God, for surrounding me with friends who are truly diamond cutters that are ambitious and are humble and are spiritually led and driven. Like, thank you, God, for giving me the ability to discern between love and fear. Like, thank you, God. It's just like, and just keep going. Like, just keep going as far as you can. And when you get to the point where you're like in tears because you're so happy with how much you love other people, or you feel the love from other people, and it's like, when you can start to like really find that well of love and support in a way that kind of transcends like your situation. It's like and what it would be for me is personal. It might it might look completely different, for each person, what those things are. But I would say start there, to feel better, like and then input is output. So whatever you're putting in your mind, whatever you're surrounding yourself with, whatever type of energy you're connecting with, is probably going to be what you reflect back. So be conscious of what type of information you're consuming and what type of information you're outputting. Make sure they're in alignment with one another. And then a little bit more technical, or like business, maybe, like to answer your question, like maybe from a little bit more like you were saying, somebody who's pursuing a music career that's maybe right on the brink, but then like the rug got pulled out from under all of us, really. But what I would say is network is everything. Like right now, our greatest asset as artists is our ability to trade time, which is the greatest commodity. Is being able to trade the time with our colleagues, with our friends, um, with our fellow contemporaries. Like, if you think about it, it's like, well, right now, like there's no market for like live performance, really. So that is like, stock is at all-time low, right? So like, say somebody like me, I'll speak for myself. Somebody like me who's pretty much in, all invested in like was all invested in like live performance. Well, now it's like you have to think about like, okay, well, now I'm sitting around most of the day. Not really, because I can't sit around, but I'm not doing the normal things where I'm going to rehearsals, going to gigs, like practicing for specific performances and different things, or like organizing drop boxes for gigs and arranging rehearsals and all this other stuff. It's like, basically you got to get to a place where, or that, so that's like, my time is now available, which means like I can, and I don't have any income, so it's like the value of my time is like, in terms of like a worldly value, it's like, oh well, if you're going to invest in artists, like invest in them right now, because they like need your support now more than ever. So if you kind of use that as a platform of, it's like, okay, well, think about it, there's still the same amount of money that was out there. It's just booming and busting in different areas. So you got to think strategy. Where's the money, right? Where's the industry? Where is the market? Like, what do I do well that isn't performing, because that's not an option right now. And like live streams and stuff are great, but that's not going to pay your bills. Even if you play every day and put a tip jar or whatever, it's just not. Let's be honest, playing every single day, unless you're playing at a level of like the Beatles or Dave Matthews or Michael Jackson or somebody, it's like you're gonna have to play 4 and 5 gigs a day, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5 times a day. Like if you're like a local musician, I mean, most of the successful local musicians I know, that's what they're doing. So it's like now just change that. Now the game is different.
Well, and I want you to keep going because like this is amazing right now. It's like to your point too. Not only that, but the people that are sitting home viewing this have been massively impacted. This is a lot different than some other things that have happened. Like if something happens on Wall Street, like that's going to impact a lot of people on a certain level, but like it might not impact a band and their following, right? But this virus will impact the people playing,
right,
the venues they play at,
yeah,
and even to the point where like it matters because you're going to wear the people out watching Facebook Live. Like I hate to put it that way, but it's like
it's true.
Our consumers have been impacted equally at their jobs, and with their resources and with their food and their nourishment and their, so it's like to think that they're going to be able to donate on the same level, like $15, like they would $15 to get in to see somewhere is different, because if they earn tips or they, earn their wages in a creative way like we do, then they're being impacted too. So then to some degree, I mean, thank goodness for all of these like arts councils and things that we talked about and these other resources, because that's really why they kick in.
Yeah.
Right. But like, I love where you're going with that. Like, please enlighten me.
I mean, too, man. You know that it's like we've known for a while that in music industry is always changing, right?
Yes.
That since the day it started, every time it go, every couple of years it's like a major flip, and then as we transition to new ages, it's like we transition from vinyl to 8 tracks to CD to tapes to CDs to MP3s. It's like every time it goes through a different medium, the whole board, it's like gets all shaken up, and then everybody's like making a mad dash to figure out how they fit back in it. And it's like, well, this is just we already knew that it was a digital age. We already knew that the value of selling music was at an all-time low. Like that's just the numbers, just the fact. Like people are just not buying music because now you can stream it online for free. You can, get it on YouTube. You can rip it off YouTube. You can ask your friend to send you the files that they just downloaded. Like, if you're thinking about selling your music, like I hate to say it, but like if you're banking on music sales as your number one, that's like a secondary mission. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you're getting good money back from selling music, that means like you're doing other things well. Like you've connected your music into markets or connected with influencers in social media land that can like help you get an audience. But it's like you'll never sell a music if you don't have an audience. So if you're not actively cultivating and curating an audience and you're trying to make it as a professional artist or musician, you might want to get on that ASAP. And takes a village.
I mean, it does take a village. And it's like, we started off talking about things being positive, right? And then, well, how do we end up here? It's because I think if you can find that inner gratitude, somehow, then you can start to see how there might be things around you that are unfolding on your behalf, right? And, I think this is all under the assumption, for us, like, and when I say assumption, two things that we can assume about each other is that we believe in a higher power. Like I believe in God, and I believe in God as the creator of all things. And I believe that everything in my life comes second to my being obedient to the word of God. And, that's just what I believe. That's where I'm at. And, I think not everybody, though, comes from that standpoint. And I just want to take a second to say, if you're listening to this, and you've been listening to this, first of all, thank you. But like, if you want to ever talk to Ryan or I, like, if you feel like there's nobody else in your corner, like fresh air is in your corner, and the two of us are in your corner, and it doesn't, you can be a Christian, you can be somebody who believes in God, but you don't have to believe in God to hang out and have dialogue with us, or to get any help, or to ask any questions deeper. Like, we don't know everything. I definitely don't know everything. In fact, I'm looking at notes right here because that's how little I know. But the reality is like, I am willing to flesh that stuff out. And not only that, but like, we've grown wise enough to learn and to build relationships with people who do know a little bit more than we do. So perhaps there's somebody we can help you with. And I want to shout out to Tim Power right now, because he's a great minister and pastor in my life, and he's a great musician. He's a great leader, phenomenal musician. And the musicians at church that we get to hang out with, and Andy Dwiggins and Steve Factor, Connor Coffey, Ashley Schaefer, Tim Schaefer. I mean, it's endless. Danny Domain just came and played, Josh Clips. I mean, it's countless. John Lum has played at our church, just it goes on. Roy Jones. So, we have been surrounded by people who are constantly breathing life into us. And so I think I would also say that, like, now's a great time for a phone call, like pick up the phone and call somebody, or FaceTime them, or do a Zoom conference, or do Facebook Messenger, like whatever you have to do. Because there are people, like, even if it's just the two of us, like there are people who are wishing well, and wishing well, I say in general, because we're wishing you well, but we're wishing all things well. Like, we're praying for the greater good in everything. And so, like, we just want you to know that exists on your behalf. I just think I'm so glad that I get to hang out with you, and that you are a positive person, because it makes me feel like, okay, so the glass can be half empty, it can be half full, it can also be like you forgot to turn the faucet off, and the water's just flowing out of the glass and spilling over.
It's kind of half full and half
empty. And it's the water's always there, and it's like it's running over, it's overflowing. So it's like I'm thankful for that. Which actually brings me to the next big thing, the topic of discussion. So earlier on, we mentioned we were going to talk about the Savage Dance Party.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And it's really birthed out of this. Like, this idea of not everybody's experiencing this thing to the same way. And I'm going to try this, to bring this full circle, and you tell me how I do.
You got it.
But so I'm feeling pretty, let's say we're talking last Monday, I'm feeling pretty, like, good about things in general. Like, nobody to my knowledge in my family has this virus. We have been practicing social distancing, and trying to be respectful of the people that around us. But at the same time, I've also been able to encounter people like yourself and people like at church. And like, this is all within the last week. Like, even though things are going on around us, my recollection of the last 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, up until Wednesday of this past week, was pretty, thankful. I was in a lot of Thanksgiving, like, this is great. And even though all this is going on, I've been able to see a lot of the same people that I've seen, maybe not at the same frequency, but I had been able to see the same people. And then all of a sudden, like, when Thursday, I get into this funk, and I talked to Libby, and I told her I was going to talk about this a little bit. So she's okay with me talking about this. But like, I get into a funk because things are kind of going good for me individually. And we're even doing pretty good at home. Like, we have things down to a science in terms of, Libby's got a meeting at 9 to 11. So I'm hanging with the kids, and my meeting's at 11. And so I hang with the kids and I put them in a position that she can come down and we can swap. And then I go do my thing and then we switch back and then we do lunch and then we go for a walk, which is life-giving. Walks are life-giving and they're great. Which, by the way, if you haven't gone out and walked, be sure you walk. Get out there and get some sunshine. Get your vitamin D.
You will get sick.
It's so important. Because like one of the worst things that could happen is you just coop up, right? And
shut down.
And you don't get any sunlight, and that could be. In fact, I don't know. I'm gonna say, in fact, I heard this, but I'm not stating this as a fact because I'm not a scientist and I don't know that this is 100% true. But within the very few first few days of the higher level quarantine, I heard somebody say one of the worst things for the virus is good weather, like sunlight and heat. Like that's better for the virus than it being cold. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because being cold we tend to stay inside and coughing on each other, or if it can live in the cold weather. I don't remember, but I do remember, and maybe that's worth somebody looking up if you're listening to this. And set me straight on that. If you're listening, then you can comment in the comment section. But anyway, so walks are life-giving, right? So we're doing this, right? We do it Tuesday and Wednesday, and for some reason at the end of Wednesday, I'm still in like some kind of funk. So we go into Thursday and I'm still in a funk. And Libby and I, we're kind of in a little bit of a funk. And it's not one we can put a finger on, and we're not like fighting or we're not like arguing. There's no like open, blatant argument happening. So we don't even know what the funk is about. And like in the meantime, like she's getting to see people that she wanted to see, or if nothing else, Zoom meeting or setting up meetings. I'm doing the same thing. So like there are a lot of things that are life-giving, and we're just still in some funk. So Thursday happens, we wake up, she has the first meeting, she's working at like 5 a.m. in the morning, and then she's done it, she takes her first work break at 8. None of the people that she works with are even working yet at 8. So she switches at 8, and then I go in and do something at 8 to prep, for like a church meeting. We had a staff meeting or something. And, so it's like, okay. And then we switch, and then it's lunch and we eat lunch together, and it was great. I made it. So of course it was great. And then we switch back and then we do all this stuff. And, I have combo, I work at Webster University, like, and everything's great. And then all of a sudden, like, we're still in some funk. And then like it goes into Friday. And it's like the same thing. And Friday, it's like the same thing. And we're like killing it. And the great things happen Friday, right? Because we had a great interview. And we had a great like conference. Fresh Air met on Friday. Like, and that was awesome. And then like we're still in this funk. And so anyway, what I realized was we were putting a lot of energy and effort into external things that will eventually benefit us, or are working in our behalf. Like our jobs work in our behalf, like, and they're awesome. Like I love what I do. I really do. And I feel like I make an impact, and I feel like there's a lot of room for creativity there, which is something that I need. And I get to work with people and include people that I genuinely love. But at the same time, there's nothing more life-giving to me than being life-giving for the sake of life-giving. So it's great for me to go to work and that it happens to be life-giving, but it's another thing within my household to do things that are life-giving. And that's something that I think took a halt, right? So I think like if we had goals, like just between Libby and I that we wanted to achieve, well, those things took a halt. They went to a kind of a screeching halt. And they did that so we could like better take care of our kids and like get the daily corona, down low happening in our household, and make sure that we were nailing all our meetings and all this stuff. And all that's great. But what I realized, and it wasn't really until after the Fresh Air meeting, that we needed to do something, at least this was my philosophy and opinion, I think Libby agreed, that we need to do something where we put in the same amount of energy and effort as we did for planning the day around the coronavirus into something that was just meaningful to us. And out of that was born this Savage Dance Party, right? So that's where that came, because we dance every day anyway. We dance, like, you can go look in December 2017 or something, when Emily and Daisy, our two kiddos, you can go back there and see us dancing on Facebook. I mean, us dancing is nothing new under the sun.
Right.
We do it all the time. We've done a lot of dancing in this house. Like, a lot of people know that. It's not just like something that we are making up. And so I thought about it and I said, you know what? We're not doing that right now. And I don't know why. It's something we can still do. Not only that, but like, why don't we share it? Because I wonder how many other people are planning their life around Corona. Like we said before, I mean, not everybody goes to church. So not everybody has that same spiritual uplifting on Sunday that takes you through, or not everybody has a Ryan Marquez that can help encourage you throughout the week. Not everybody has another spouse that can help you nail down, you take the kids this time, and then I'll take the kids that time, and then I'll go to work meeting, and then I'll go, and then you cook lunch, and then you do breakfast, and then you do this shift and that shift. Like, so if you don't have that, and all you're living for is the coronavirus, like, I don't know, like, so anyway, it just made me think, boy, I'm grateful for my current situation. And how can we, I have been thinking for a couple weeks now, like, how can we from this household contribute something? Just in the same way that we've been talking about, like, well, how can Fresh Air contribute something right now? And what are we going to contribute? And it hit me like a ton of bricks. What have we already been doing? Well, Fresh Air, we've already been writing and recording. We've already been, and just like the same thing goes with our family. Like, we had already been doing dancing. And I think dancing is something that, in my opinion, everyone should do in their household. And then we thought about it, with Facebook Live. It's like, what, maybe if people, end up projecting it on their TV, or just put it up on their phone or their device, and they can see it and they can hear it, or if they maybe connect their phone with Alexa or with Sonos or whatever home theater system is, and you can hear what we're doing live, because I made sure that the quality was good enough that you could join in with us and make a fool out of yourself and dance and have fun. And maybe even if you don't do it right away, if you see us do it enough, maybe it will be infectious enough to make you laugh. And then it doesn't stop there. Like, what things are you doing, at home that you can inspire us to add to our daily routine? Because, God knows we need as many different kinds of things as we can right now. Like, which brings us to another level of creativity, right? It's sure there's a way to be creative with art, but then there's another way that I think artists are really good at, that I think you can be creative in your everyday. And I think watching artists helps, like, somebody who maybe isn't an artist in a audible or visual sense, but like maybe they can think of themselves as an artist in another sense, like the art form of how they're artistic about their day, how they're artistic about, working through this, budgeting, I mean, saving, rationing, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a way to be artistic and artful about a lot of different things. And like, I just thought it was good. And interesting enough, I had that epiphany right after our like 3:30 Fresh Air face-to-face, or our Zoom meeting. We were talking about all of our, new music and new material and stuff. So that's the Savage Dance Party. And there will be a link in this comment section if you want to catch the Savage Dance Party, and check out the last 2 or 3 that we've had, in the last few days.
Yeah.
Of course.
They're fun.
Of course. So,
kid tested, mother approved.
Yes. And thanks, Fresh Air. Thanks to Fresh Air. Like I said, I mean, I think that idea sparked from the conversations that we had. And it wasn't everybody in our group, but who was on that call? Pete. Pete Lombardo, Quane Johnson.
Quane.
Yeah, Pete Lombardo, Quane Johnson. 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 Qu and then I think it was just the two of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make it if we try.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been working on a lot of new music.
Yep.
A lot of music flowing out.
What's the new the one, well, no doubt I'm tracking drums, which I need to get that done. It's like yeah, it's complicated. My drums are set up for you know, like jazz drumming right now. I need to detune my toms and then get these mics that are in this room over on my drums kit again. But as soon as I do, I'll be sure to
it's all in good time. That. It always comes together.
And by time we mean like the next 24 hours.
Yeah,
I will have that done. But I've got a few. I've got tunes. You know, I wrote a couple tunes that are, you know, one of them I like is Redeemed. Redemption. Yes. It's all about redemption and how, you know, there's scriptures that says, I think it's in Romans, that God works everything out for his good, you know, when everything's all said and done. And to me that means, like, when I think about it from a human standpoint, that even I can be redeemed, or the actions that I have can be redeemed. And that doesn't always mean like bad things, but it just means like when you redeem a ticket, like that's a good way to redeem something. You know what I mean? It's like there's a lot of ways that redemption works, and like there's a lot of ways, you know. So it makes me think too, well, how can God redeem something that we bring to him? You know what I'm saying? Like if we write something with the interest of God using it for the good, then how can that be then redeemed? And how could a bigger purpose for that be used? You know, so, but anyway, that's what the song's about. I love that song. It's one of my favorite ones. And we've got a lot of, you know, so we've got at least enough for a new EP, and we're not going to tell you all of the secrets that we have, but we can tell you to look out for that music, and it will be coming out very soon, before the summer.
Oh yeah.
So and you're going to hear new sounds, you know. We've been playing with Connor Lowe a lot more frequently, which he is an amazing dude. He's such an amazing guitarist.
Young line.
James Hayes is a percussionist that will, I think, allow me maybe a little more flexibility on the stage to maybe add keys or synth parts, or spoken word or rap, for anyone who can't, you know, who understands that spoken word is rap. It's funny because like you can get away, you can get away with saying, oh yeah, I do spoken word, and then take that totally to certain venues or certain places. But like if you say, yeah, I'm a rapper, it's funny, like that's a different thing. And it's like, I'm not judging anybody here. I'm just saying those are two different. It's different to say those two things. To me, they mean the same thing.
Definitely.
To me, they mean the same thing. But yeah, and then, you know, also
encompass. It's like a Venn diagram. There's like an intersection in the middle,
right?
Where they both.
That's right.
Where they like.
And you've reached out to people about playing with us too, right?
Yeah.
Didn't you reach out to Ariana?
A couple. Alexis Adams.
Oh, Alexis Adams. Yeah, that's right.
And Luke Saylor.
Luke Saylor. Oh, wow. Yeah.
With the band.
Yeah. See, that's trust, fam. That's trust right there. Because, you know, I wouldn't think twice about who you asked to play with us, but it also makes my heart glad when I think about Alexis and Luke. I mean, that's dope.
Oh yeah. Both of them are really great players, and really great energies. I think more important than being a good player is like when you're in a band, it's all about the kind of energy that you bring when you show up. And you know, it's like I think as we get older, we're probably more appreciative of this, but it's like when you're young, there's like this certain, when you're younger, there's a certain kind of hunger or like glossy eyedness that you have,
yeah,
in just like in pursuit of your dream or in pursuit of like a career in the arts. And the older you get, the more people who tend to be around the same age as you like can kind of lose that. And that's like, we look at somebody like Miles Davis, or like in St. Louis, like Willie Aikens, you know, it's like always surrounding themselves with like young people, young energy, like youthful energy. It's like regardless of how far you go, you gotta always have that energy that you had, you know, at the start of it. And if you lose that, you know, or if you go through cycles maybe where it's, you gotta conjure up more energy to find that, just put yourself around some young kids, like you'll find it right back.
So it's like, shout out to the crew. Well, who is the crew? Let's try. Let's try it. Anybody who's ever played in a Fresh Air.
Okay.
So this is anybody who's ever played in a Fresh Air show ever.
All right. So we should start with the OG 5, right?
Okay. So Ben Roy. And by the way, we're gonna like obnoxiously tag everybody.
Of course.
But I think maybe what we should do is like, you know, tag people and let them know at what point in the podcast they're in. Listen to it if you want.
But tune into this section.
Tune into this section. If you don't listen to the whole thing, that's fine. Whatever.
Yeah.
But
it's all about everybody anyways.
Exactly. But let's be obnoxious for a second. And we're going to name everybody who's ever played any Fresh Air music at all, ever. As much as we can.
As much as we can think of.
Okay.
God forbid we forget
something. I know. So we said Ben Roy on guitar.
Desmond
Reichel
yeah.
on trumpet.
Yeah.
Tim Siskey on saxophone. Ryan Marquez.
Nick Savage.
Okay. So we played it safe.
Hey.
Okay. So let's do it this way. Let's do saxophones. Okay. I feel like that might be
logical.
Safe. So like Matt McKeever's played with us.
Well, before Matt, Eric.
Eric Cheverett. That's right. We went to college. We went on tour with Eric.
We did, man.
Yeah.
Eric.
So
Eric was up
Eric. Yeah. So Eric
and Lamar Harris was playing with us.
Oh, Lamar. Yeah. Both of them played with us at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Like one time, Lamar rolled in on us at Errata Wine Bar and played as a horn trio. That was back when we used to wear the 5-button suits.
Yes.
That happened.
I'm pretty sure there's a picture of us.
There is.
In the Venice Cafe in the back. If you're privileged enough to hang out in the kitchen.
Yes.
There's one.
Absolutely. Okay.
Can't miss it.
So let's say keep going with horn players.
Okay, horn players, yeah.
So we said Matt McKeever, Eric Cheverett, Lamar Harris. Shout out to Charlie Serpa.
Big shout out
to Charlie
Serpa. Harvey Lockhart.
Mm-hmm. The whole Point of View Jazz Ensemble, that covers them.
Yeah, that's
because they have played Fresh Air's music.
Yes.
Right?
That's a group
or the music
Harvey
of Fresh Air.
The instructor, leader of.
Yes.
Organizer of.
Yes. Okay, Kyle Allen,
yeah.
Kwame Johnson.
Yep. David Gomez. Nabil Cassis.
Okay. Yes. Wait a minute.
Anybody else on horn? We're missing?
Did I said Ariana.
You did.
And it's because she played with us at.
Oh, she did?
The BB's.
Was it BB's?
It was BB's.
Yeah, it was BB's.
Yeah, it was for Funk Fest.
She was there.
She did play with us.
Absolutely.
Because we all wore dashikis on that show.
We did.
For Funk Fest.
That was a fun show.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to find that.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, we played What It's Hip.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Somewhere.
Yeah. That happened. I remember. Okay.
Horn players.
So we're still on horn players. I kind of feel like that I'm going to say shout out to Cameron Huff because he's a horn player. Yeah. He's also in Point of View Ensemble and has since graduated from high school. He's in college and, so I'm going to go ahead and shout his name out. because I know he's recently also played the music of Fresh Air. He did the jazz camp over the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what about Theo Harden?
Oh yeah, Theo Hernandez.
He's played bass.
Yep.
Melvin Moore.
Yep, Melvin's played.
Melvin Moore's played bass.
Yep. Phil Graves has played drums.
Phil Graves has
keys.
played drums and keys and percussion. Dominic Evans has played percussion. MCK
on the percussion.
Yes. MCK. Yes.
Oh, Drew Mantia.
Drew Mantia for sure. Oh, for sure. Guitarist.
Production engineer.
Okay. Connor Lowe.
No,
we mentioned him earlier. James Hayes. We mentioned him earlier.
Oh, Paige Alyssa.
Yes.
Rennick.
Yes. Oh, you're going to the Shelton. You went to the Sheldon.
I went to the Sheldon.
Yep. Sheldon Concert Hall in August on Michael Jackson's birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2017. Yeah, Phil Hamer. Absolutely. John Lum. Shout outs to John Lum. Of course.
I was jamming with him digitally today.
Nice.
Devin Allman, who plays with Devin Allman. And they did like a little live stream.
Yeah, I saw that.
They didn't have an organ player, so I just helped myself. I just took a video of myself.
They're going to love hearing that.
I was like, hey,
Yeah, that's great. That's
what you got to do now if you want to play with other people.
Jesse Gannon has played the music of Fresh Air.
Yeah, Jesse. Who else?
That could be.
That's a lot of people.
Molden Pickett.
Oh, Pickett.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know what is amazing too?
Wow.
Molden Pickett, first of all, was one of the most influential cats in my life playing drums. I used to watch him play with P.T. Williams he used to sit in a lot. At that time, I think he was playing with pretty much everybody.
Oh yeah, he was smashing the game.
But the reality is his son was at that jazz camp. He's one of the drummers.
Nice.
Yep.
The legend continues. That's great.
Shout out if we missed you and you're in Fresh Air.
We love you, and we're sorry.
We love you, and nothing personal. I'm gonna take just a second to plug this into the camera. But why don't you go ahead and talk a little bit about what is happening right now, like how as a group in Fresh Air we're taking advantage of technology and what we're doing in terms of we're doing this podcast.
We're doing this podcast, right?
I feel like this podcast is one of the things that you could consider us doing.
Yep, we're going to be bringing a podcast at least once a week with thoughts, ideas from the week, insight, information, resources, anything that seems applicable or valuable. We want to hear from you all. So definitely leave us comments, definitely suggestions, anything. We're here for y'all. We've been passing music back and forth through the mail, passing song ideas. I know a lot of people have been creating and writing. We've got some things in the works. Like we're working on a new record, like we're also, once they let us back into the wild, we have, we Fresh Air has some things lined up later this year. We won't get too much into specifics about what and things until we know for sure. But we've got, performance opportunities lined up through the year, and I know our crew doesn't sleep much. So I know people are practicing.
Right.
I know for sure. With no gigs, it's not like Like some people maybe they are in a situation it's like, oh, my job got canceled or my job got postponed or I don't go to work, I work from home. Maybe you're in a like place where you can like watch Netflix or like you can like maybe relax a little. We're like the people hoping that you do that. So we can, and then trying to get our music on the Netflix show that you watch. You
Right.
know, so it's like
There's an element of that.
we're not
Yes.
sleeping.
There is an element of that.
So we're hustling and we're like, you know, growing in ways as artists individually and collectively and really leaning on each other in this time and recognizing kind of as I was saying earlier, it's like a really good time to invest in one another and to help each other. Because like now nobody has any money, so like money's not like a commodity, you know. It's like before you're like, hey, I got this track, and then people are so busy, they're like, oh yeah, sure I can do it. They like maybe they want to do it, right? They like have a good intention about doing it, but now it's like to get someone to do your stuff, you gotta pay them the money to do it, you know, because like that's the level we're at now. Uh, paying your friends who are professional musicians, but then it's like now it's like, well, nobody has any money, but we have time. So I kind of feel like this really like showing the true commodity or like the true resource, you know. It's like, okay, you do this track for me. I did this one like several times. Like you play on this track for me, I play on this track for you. Even, right? It's like no money was exchanged and we both got a quality product that we were like hoping to get with somebody who otherwise we maybe wouldn't even have been able to afford. That's like one strategy of collaboration. Another one might be like creating something with a partner with the intention of it, profit and making it profitable, you know? So it's like I've been reaching out to producers like yourself, Drew Mantia, you know, my Vintage Vibes, my buddy Bob Polian in Kansas City, you know, just several producers that you know, MCK, Gavin Duffy. Like, I just been building a team of producers and being like, look, y'all, this is the game now. Like, let's make tracks. Let's figure out how to connect this stuff with that next tier of industry. And let's just also just make stuff to make stuff. Like, you know, let's just have fun with it. So I think honestly, when we look back like 10 years from now, we're gonna be like, look at all the it's like look at all the seeds that grew from that time, that like super uncertain time, or with that time when all these people are just like, okay, I got nothing left. Like,
Right, right.
what do we do now? Like, okay, well, let's all band together. All right, that sounds like a good plan. Let's see what we can make together, you know?
Well, it's
So
like maybe we all will. No,
maybe,
I'm just you. Well,
maybe.
well, it's like we. I hope we will. I think we will. Right. But
People on my team will, or they won't be on
right,
my team.
exactly. But then there's like there's this side of people that don't necessarily have a lot of those things together, and like, okay, what things am I talking about? Well, like, does do serious musicians have a decent preamp to record through, um to uh to codify and to save and capture their art and put it in a file and put it on a hard drive? And it's like, does everybody have, are people using CD Baby or TuneCore or DistroKid, or do people have ASCAP accounts? Are they ASCAP members? Are their songs signed up with ASCAP or BMI or any of the other? It's like, I think there is a time where in a season where, well, I would say there maybe is a group of people in a season like this that maybe can't capitalize on it in a way that we can. you know I mean, I have 3 kids. Like, I have a lot of stuff going on, a good amount of projects. Like, you have a ton of projects. For the last
Yeah.
like 3 months, you were in Kansas City for a good portion of that time visiting your family because you're a family oriented person. And it's like, but that, but the fact that you already have all this stuff in place, like you already have your hard drives, you already have your setup at home, you have your keyboards, and you have the sounds. Like if there's a track that was incoming and you needed to find a certain sound on your keyboard, like that alone doesn't pose a problem. And I think it is uh, it is worth it. You know, speaking to preparation, like
Mm-hmm.
having, you know, being able to use the cloud, having like a terabyte of storage, you know, being able to use a hard drive, being able to know how to name your files and share them,
Mm-hmm.
having a Dropbox or Google Drive or transfer, like, and having a consistent and dependable Wi-Fi, you know, router at home, and like these are all things that it shows, you know, at a time like this, that it's important to have to be using these kinds of things all the time, because then you actually can, you know, fulfill kind of what you're saying, right? Like you can communicate with other artists. You can set up and watch somebody on Facebook Live, like John Lum, who was, you know, playing. I saw him; he was playing with Justin Corgan and, you
Devin
know, Devin
Allman.
Allman. It's like you can sit down and play with them while they do it live, because you can stream along with them, because, you know, you pull it up and your Wi-Fi is running fast enough, and you are playing along with them. And if they ask you to send them an organ track because you let them know, because they were listening to this podcast and they're like, well, you send us a track to play, you know, it's like you could do it, because then you have a mobile preamp, and you know how to file share, and you know how to line the track up in the section, you know how to run a session, you know. I think a good segue to just technology in general is that it's proving to be useful right now.
Yeah.
And sure, we're artists, and a big part of what we do create, and that the source of that is it's our heart and our head and then that flows through our fingers. But then the way it's captured is technology.
Mm.
You know, excuse me if it seems
It's
like I'm
always been.
rambling here, but it's like at the end of the day, like all of the stuff and the resources and the things that we're saying, it's like if you have a hard time like getting on the internet and focusing and clicking a link and then reading the page on Regional Arts Commission's website, you're not going to benefit from what they have to offer. If you want to play with your favorite artist in town and you want to collaborate because everybody's staying indoor and it's coronavirus and you want to be positive, and a part of that is collaborating, but you don't know how to run a session, you know, or you don't know how to save your files, or you don't know how to bounce them out of a program, you know, or you don't have a program to bounce them out of,
Mm-hmm.
you know, those are all going to be sort of hindrances.
Right.
So like there's a way that like right now technology can be our friend, but it can also be one of our biggest hindrances. It's that sort of mode of duality there that we see, that like if you need help with any of that, like using any of those things, like we said
Yeah,
before
reach
about
out.
some of this other stuff we're talking about, like by no means are we any kind of experts on it, but like we do have some uh knowledge that's notable about some of this stuff. And then we also know people that are helpful. Like when it comes to sessions, Drew Bantia just put out some great videos of sessions. Ben Mazak put out some great like mixing. I think he was mixing some stuff on Facebook Live.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like we know other people that do have
Resources and
resources and
materials.
materials, online materials, or they can call you on the phone and they can tell you exactly what you want to know. But if it has to start with us, then we can
Right.
share what knowledge we have. um, One of the biggest meanings of technology that we're using, that we're actually even using right now, is Zoom. I mean, I paid for the $14 version of it. I'm going to use for 1 month. It's going to get its money's worth for sure. And I've used it for so many different meetings. I can record high quality audio through it because I can plug my interface to it. I can use an external camera and get like amazing camera view, and or I can use my computer and it does just fine. As long as I have decent internet, then I can do a meeting. But like Zoom was the source of the most recent Fresh Air gathering, and it was a great spark for what's to come this coming week in a lot of our tracking and sharing of new materials. So, Zoom is extremely awesome, and it's a great
Yes.
way to share. But yet another one of those situations where if you're not used to knowing what kind of online resources or download applications are good for your computer or good for your circumstances, if you're just not aware about those things, then it is hard to take advantage of it, but it's helped us for sure.
Right.
um
Yeah, and like the great like so when you were saying all that stuff, all I could think about is like it's like the fittest of the fittest survive, and the only way that we would have gotten to like maybe a place where you could say like, oh well, yeah, you're in a place where you're able to like utilize this because of preparations that you made. But it's like the only way that's even possible is from just like literally learning on the fly, and just like it's not like there's no time to like process it or really like think about it too much. It's like you literally just got to learn and pick it up like quick and start using just like you would like a new word, it's like
right.
soon as you understand like, oh, that's a necessary thing. It's necessary for me to know how to use like Logic or Pro Tools, or it's necessary for me to know how to operate a webcam. It's necessary for me to know how to file transfer. Like if this is stuff that you're like not familiar with, like you got to dive in head first and make mistakes and like look dumb and ask people questions that seem like, you know, elementary if you don't understand.
Hey,
You got to type it into
even if
Google.
you think you know the answer and you ask it and you did know the answer, just consider it affirmation. Like, to your point, like, yes, like even ask the questions you think you know the answers to.
Right. Yeah, because it's all like we're all figuring this out together. Like no one of us is really greater than all of us, and we won't no one of us will know everything. Like even the greatest of us won't. So it's like we can all learn from just by asking questions, with like witnessing the process. Like the great thing about like the artistic process is like if you study other people's process, or if you just watch them, or you just like listen to what they're saying, or you get a feel intuitively of like how to do it, or like
Mm,
or like you can learn what not to do, by watching other people make mistakes. And that's like there's a lot of value in that too. Is so it's like, but then it's like once you there's because like there's the book smart folks, that they gotta like read everything in a book, and then they can like and then they feel comfortable enough to maybe try it or to do it. But then there's like the doers who just like they might not have any clue what they're doing, and they get in there right away and they just start messing it up because they didn't read the instruction manual.
yeah.
But they're at least like in there like all in it. So it's like finding the balance somewhere between like knowing it, but not like from a distance so far that you just like can only speak about it objectively or subjectively, but then not being so eager to just like jump in and do it to a point where it could be self detrimental. You
You've
know?
seen me go like the opposite. Because I used to be the person who would just dive into doing something like, oh my god, like I don't have enough fingers and toes to count how many songs that I wrote wrong, like awfully, like maybe the keys are wrong or the pitches are wrong and I'm like, well, just read it down. Like we're just gonna play this sucker the way it's written. Just play what's on the page. And but what's on the page is wrong. It's like that was definitely but then they're like in order to find the balance, it's like if you think about the way eyeglasses focus, like when you put them on at first, like you can't see anything, and then you're like, oh, and then you open your eyes and like you catch your focus. So it's like in order for them to work. So like in order for me to actually find balance, I went through this period where I like wasn't writing much of anything because I was overanalyzing everything. And so now I'm finally finding some balance, and I'm able to like write a ton. And part of it is I've been reading a lot of scripture and having a lot of positive experiences through the relationships that I have. And part of it, I think, is just maturing and finding that balance in general, I think. You know, this has been awesome.
Yeah, this is
like
fun.
I'm
excited
I'm excited to do this. Yeah. And I think, this is helpful for me. So if nobody else listens to it, I'll probably go back and listen to it and be like, what was I talking about right there?
Did I make sense? How many times did I say
Exactly. But it's like, but we're gonna be here every single Monday morning.
Yes, for
at
y'all.
7 a.m.
You can stream us all week. Watch the recap.
Exactly.
It's convenient for you.
Exactly. In terms of things that are going on, like we're gonna keep doing the Savage Dance Party. We're gonna do it pretty much most days around like 5 p.m. ish or something like that. And
nice.
We're gonna be doing some duo stuff. I know, like coming soon, that we can like release and just have some fun, and maybe we'll just like generate some good audio and use some still shots of your artwork or something like that. I don't know what we'll do.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens. We're always scheming about something, but some of the helpful links, like I said, we're going to post them. But if you're in a position where you can only hear what we're saying and not in a position where where you can actually write down or just click on something, we're just going to say them out loud right now just so you can hear them. And if one of these resonates with you for what you're trying to do, then maybe it'll stick in the back of your mind. But zoom.us, we're using Zoom for Fresh Air meetings right now. The freshair.org is where you're going to find like our latest shows and our music and all of this stuff that we're doing. Of course, ryanmarquez.com.
nicksavagemusic.com.
Greatly appreciated. SalemSt. Louis.com. We mentioned a bunch of our friends from the church and the band that we're in and the other ministries that we do. So SalemSt. Louis.com. The 442s. So Facebook.com/the 442s. If you thought you might be interested in checking out what they've got, show them some love. RACSTL.com or
.org, I think, or maybe both.
I think it's .com. They probably bought both of them, but I clicked on it and they both work. Okay. So Rack STL, and that was a place where I was kind of talking about the Regional Arts Commission, right?
Regional Arts Commission,
and they have like this $100,000 like endowment of some kind, and
you get a one-time grant.
There's a one-time grant for anybody eligible who fills out the application and meets the requirements.
Probably more info tomorrow.
Anywhere from $500 to $1,000 at the moment. But then you also mentioned Billboard.com and the guide to music professionals and everything. So it's basically, if you go to the billboard.com /articles and business, you'll eventually find like a bunch of resources for artists during the coronavirus.
Yeah, it's easy to navigate.
ASCAP.com is the same way, like ASCAP, ASCAP.com. ASCAP.com, right on the front of their website. One of the first things you'll find is just a bunch of like Q&As, like frequently asked questions, and then a bunch of answers on what artists are actually going through, and then what really the state is doing. Mm-hmm. Like it's very heavily government oriented. So
read everything.
Read everything down. Like
read everything before you do anything.
There's a ton of information on there, but like read everything, and then don't just read and then do, or don't just read and then wait. Like use discernment. Think about it. Think about the choices that you're making.
Definitely reach out to people who you feel like might have more experience or value in their perspective. hesitate to ask any questions, because we're looking to our mentors to, like, okay, what do we do?
Right.
So we're all in this together.
Ron, you want to talk about stlgives.org?
Yeah, stlgives.org is hooking up people who are in the service industry and maybe out of income or out of work for the moment being, and if you are in need, they will give you a $500 or $1,000 grant to either to pay a bill on your behalf or to have you spend the money however is appropriate for your situation. And if you also, if you have the extra funds to give, if you're fortunate not to be truly affected financially, we would appreciate, on behalf of the arts community, any kind of contribution to any of the organizations that we've kind of outlined, specifically the local based ones. The one that Ben Mazek's doing, this St. Louis Art and Music Fund, the St. Louis Gives, support the Regional Arts Commission, anything that they do, they're huge for local musicians. So yeah, reach out to anybody, like anybody who's a local musician that you might know. Just reach out to them and let them know that you care about them, you listen to them.
Don't forget to call somebody.
Call somebody.
Be sure to call somebody.
Call your favorite cousin, your favorite uncle. Call
please.
That friend that you used to know back in middle school that you wonder what they're up to, or your old college drinking buddy.
Be sure to call.
Be sure to
call. Well, thanks, guys. You guys are listening to Conversations with Fresh Air. I'm Nick Savage.
I'm Ryan Marquez.
And we're going to be here every single week, early in the morning, first thing Monday. Be sure to check it out to hear, what we've got to talk about. We're going to be talking about anything from fresh air music to the St. Louis community of music and musicians, the art community as a whole, and then, beyond. So continue to check in with us, and we'll see you next time.
See y'all.